I want to thank Mr. Shackelford, our Region 10 director, for arranging for our guest speaker. And I know we're running short of time today, and perhaps he needs no introduction, but I wanted to allow you just a moment to introduce him or say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Pat. The speaker today is Dave Bowman. He is the Senior Director for Membership Development at NARFE headquarters. Now, Dave's right there, in his home office, I guess. But Dave, as Senior Director for Membership, oversees all membership recruitment, engagement, and retention efforts at NARFE, including the development of communications, marketing, messaging, and materials, and the execution of all acquisition campaigns. He oversees the recruitment retention department, which handles all the membership renewals, ongoing member communications aimed at retaining members and keeping them engaged in NARFE. Dave has spent almost 25 years in the association management field. He joined NARFE last June, unfortunately right in the middle of the pandemic, so not many of us have had much contact with Dave. Myself and lady that you see there, Frances Bowman, who is the Virginia Federation membership chair, have had some contact with Dave. But that being said, I'll just cut the introduction short, Dave, and say it's all yours.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you, everybody, for letting me join you today and share some time with you. I appreciate it. And Bill, just to add on to that, I haven't had a chance to meet a lot of people at all, period, let alone in our group here or otherwise. I think I've spent a grand total of probably 5 days in the office so far, and that was right when we reopened after we had closed. I actually came on board towards the end of March, so the week after the office closed due to the pandemic. I started. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Somebody else trying to get in? Fortunately, I had some experience with working remotely, so it was a little easier for me to adapt, I think, probably than it might have been. So, now, and I am gonna, Pat, I am gonna break your rule. I am gonna touch click my share screen button. Just
okay.
Just to
you're permitted. For those who just joined, I forbid anybody else to touch any buttons since we've had some.
I'm not touching.
But yeah, I've got just a brief presentation, and let me go ahead and make sure I can get that up on the screen here. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Bill asked me to just kind of, come and chat with you all today a little bit, just to kind of give you a very brief overview of, and obviously in interest of time, I'll make it even more brief if possible. Just to kind of give you a brief overview of sort of, obviously when I came on board, we're making some changes in the way that NARFE recruits and the membership development efforts that we're doing. And my job as the Senior Director of Membership Development is to spearhead those efforts. And I've had quite a bit of experience in working with marketing communications in the membership field. So my goal is to get us there and to it's no secret that NARFE's membership has been shrinking recently, and my job is to get that trend, at least to slow the trend and get it turned around and get us heading in a positive direction. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our membership strategy, which was approved by the NEB actually days before I came on board. And I'm going to talk very briefly about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about a survey we did recently of our active federal employee members, and sort of what motivates them to be a part of NARFE. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about just sort of very briefly about our current outreach efforts as far as recruitment and retention. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of new things that are happening at NARFE that are very exciting, and I want to make sure you guys are informed about it, because you will ultimately help us spread the word about what's going on at NARFE at the local level and get folks engaged. And that's really the key to our whole strategy, at least on the retention side and on the recruitment side, really is to get people to engage. The word that sums up my the biggest part of my job is to engage our members and engage prospects with NARFE. So how are we doing that? The membership strategy document that was approved last year, these are just some of the key highlights that I pulled out. Obviously and of course, in the midst of all this, we have the pandemic, and so our digital marketing communication strategies become even more important. Because we don't have as many opportunities, if any, to do face-to-face interaction and face-to-face recruiting. That's been a real challenge this year. So we are working overall to enhance our marketing communication strategies using more email, targeted marketing over the web, social media, that kind of thing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as I move down into the presentation, talk about some specifics. Provide a path for prospects to experience NARFE. Basically what that means is with prospects, and we have a prospect list that we work with, and what we do, and the next bullet here, improved communications, also feeds into that. What we try to do is communicate with those prospects on a regular basis and provide them with opportunities to take a peek at NARFE, to look at some of the things that we offer. Not necessarily give away the farm, but to give them access to certain things that they can sort of test drive NARFE and see how valuable it can be, and then ultimately follow up with them. And that's the process that I oversee, is the following up with them to get them to join. So, and that's another process that we're looking to improve. So again, that path for prospects to experience NARFE and then communicate with them to get them to join, those are two of our key goals. Again, I'll come back to that path for prospects a little later when we talk about the website. First year and overall retention rate. Our overall retention rate is actually pretty strong, but our first year retention is not unusual for an association. First year tends to be the year when if you're going to lose members, you lose more in the first year, just because they might be test driving it, they might be trying it out and they don't find a lot of value. Or maybe they don't get a chance to experience it. So really one of the things we're focusing on, again, is that communication with those first year, that onboarding process as they come in, as they join us. How are we communicating with them? We're focusing more on that and hopefully doing things to, as I said, the keyword being engage them, get them engaged with the association. This one's really important and of course applies to everyone here. We're working on providing better tools and support for field recruiting. So to help you all and to help your peers across the country at the chapter, region, and federation level, give you tools that you need to help you both reach new prospective members and communicate with them, and again, convince them to be members. Obviously, a big challenge this year was the pandemic. We did hold the fall membership drive, but obviously there were not opportunities for folks to connect in person. There weren't the in-person health fairs. There weren't a lot of the events that you would normally have seen. So we created an online toolkit, which is accessible on the website, of digital tools that people could use in their digital communication. So that was really something we tried to adapt to our situation and fulfill this part of our strategy to try to get those tools out there. And that's ongoing. And I'll talk more as we get a little bit farther down the presentation here about some other things we're working on. And then the big one, we want to target active federal employees. Again, if we can get folks involved with NARFE earlier in that, what we call the membership cycle. So be it approaching retirement age or even at a mid-career point, to develop more content and more materials and more resources for them, which we are working on, we've begun to do, get them engaged earlier so that we can recruit them earlier, bring value to to those folks who are currently employed, and like I said, get them involved sooner and then keep them as members longer. So with that in mind, one of the things we did back in the fall was I did a very brief survey, which we fired out to approximately a large segment of we got about 20,000 active federal employee members, basically to find out why they joined NARFE, what brought them to NARFE, and what was the main reason they joined, and then why did they stay, and what's most important. So you can see, and by the way, this I wrote an article about this as well. It'll be in the upcoming Insider newsletter. So when I think you guys probably all get that. You can also read that. But obviously the first question to these folks is, why did you join NARFE? The top three answers here had far and away, and the responses were to indicate check all that apply. So they got to select more than one option, more than one response. But the top three responses were by far and away got more responses than pretty much any of the others. Learn to get the most out of my federal benefits. That was number one, and that was number one by a lot. So again, clearly folks who are active employees are looking for those resources to help them understand and manage their benefits, which, as I understand it, I mean, there used to be folks within the agencies that could help with this, but due to cuts and so forth, a lot of those folks aren't there anymore. So NARFE really could be a key part of their finding out more about how to handle their benefits. Support NARFE's advocacy efforts. Obviously, we were happy to see that come in at number 2. Number 3, nearing retirement, want to learn about the process. Again, I sort of dovetail that with number 1 a little bit, wanting to understand how that works. Number 4, incorporate my benefits into an effective financial plan. Again, how can I make the most out of the benefits that I have? And then number 5, and I think this is important for folks at the local level, connect with retired federal employees, learn more about retirement benefits and post-retirement opportunities. So this is an opportunity here for people, hopefully to reach out and engage with active employees, hopefully that are in the area and hopefully in the chapter. But also we're planning to do some promotion along that lines to let folks know, remind folks about the chapters being there and about the resources that you offer, to really kind of help people to make those connections and to learn about those opportunities and kind of what it's like to go through the retirement process. The next question, the second part of this was, which member resources do you find most valuable? Again, this lines right up with what we saw in the first question. The number 1 answer, and by the way, in just about any association survey where you ask what's the most important benefit or what's the most valuable benefit, if you've got a printed magazine, that will be number 1 almost always, because it's the one thing that a lot of associations give you can actually hold in your hand and you can actually see and feel. It's a tangible benefit. A lot of times people will vote that as number 1. More importantly, in this case, the magazine is what delivers the items we mentioned that scored high in number 2. The articles, the white papers, the resources, the information. The magazine is the number 1 source that people see and read, as of right now. So obviously we're trying to make the website be a little bit more of that platform as well, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And again, number 3, federal benefits webinars. Obviously, again, that whole theme of trying to get the most out of personalized answers to benefits questions. All 4 of those top answers really kind of go together with wanting to understand, and as I said down here, information programs to understand and manage your benefits. Interestingly enough, also the NARFE Perks discount programs came in at number 5 and scored pretty well. So that's good. Again, things that generate value. And if you looked at the last bullet here on the slide, MVP is our term, membership value proposition. What is NARFE's membership value proposition, or what's in it for me, is typically how we look at that. Again, the membership value proposition for these folks is clearly they want to get more value, more dollars out of their benefits if they can. They want to save money. We help them save, hopefully, on their insurance, their taxes, and so forth with our guidance, and save time. Because again, if someone is an active employee, they're working, their time is valuable. It's very precious. So that's something I don't think we can discount, and we should spread when we emphasize this message, when we push this message out, the value of NARFE, It's dollars, but it's also time. NARFE's a one-stop shop. That's kind of what we're trying to emphasize, that point that NARFE can be your one-stop shop to find all this information. Real quickly, some of the things we're doing at the national level recruiting, I just wanted to touch this briefly. We just so again to kind of give you a basic understanding of some of the things that we do. This doesn't cover it all, obviously, but we do conduct ongoing campaigns, acquisition campaigns throughout the year. We are beginning to incorporate some of the information we got out of the surveys and different things into the messaging. We do marketing tests with that. We do different copy. We split the mailings into a couple of different letters and measure which marketing copy does better. Multi-tiered in that, again, going back to one of our goals of using more digital marketing communications, we have started to incorporate targeted digital marketing into these campaigns. So those target lists that we're hitting with mailings, we're also targeting them on the web and on their Facebook pages if they have them, with ads that they see when they go to visit Facebook. And you've seen these. You go to a website, you're looking for shoes, and then you go off to another website, you see an ad for shoes. That's very similar to what we're doing here. We work with an outside company that helps us with that targeted marketing. The great news about this is that the results are very trackable. Metrics are very important we want to measure our results. And it's very cost effective because once these campaigns are set up, they're very easy to set up and they really practically run themselves. So it's very cost effective to do these. So we are incorporating that into our ongoing acquisition campaigns. The other part of that we're doing for digital marketing, we do e-blasts, again, through our contractor that we work with, to lists from federal publications, subscribers to things like FedWeek, Fed Agent, Fed Manager, these electronic publications, e-newsletters like our Newsline. These are for-profit companies that have these publications, and through our contact, we purchase and send emails out to their lists. And these are very effective ways of us gathering prospects. We want to give them that NARFE experience. So we promote the webinars. Obviously, they have to pay for the webinar. They have to join NARFE to have access to the webinar. So we do get some memberships out of that. But also we will offer them sample white papers and access to those that they can download a particular white paper that's of value. And then, of course, we capture their contact information and then we follow up with them. And then the last thing I just want to touch here, and this is just kind of a reminder, I know everybody's probably aware, we've been talking about it, it's been in the magazine and everything, but of course this is NARFE's 100th birthday this year, in fact in February. So again, we're trying to weave this messaging into our national recruiting messages. So we have the Centennial logo that we're incorporating into all of the mailings, all of the e-blasts, everything we have going out. We're incorporating the messaging of, NARFE has been working for you for 100 years, demonstrating that commitment of the association and the success of the association and why it's important to belong. So, and I put down here, help us spread the word. Again, this can be a very powerful part of that message when talking about NARFE is that, NARFE's been around for 100 years and we're working for you, for federal retirees and employees. So, okay, so a couple of new things real quick. If you haven't seen the new website, please go check it out. It looks fantastic. We soft launched it back in January, so the old website is still live because there are still some things, a lot of the resources, in fact, a lot of the resources for chapters and federations are still on the old site. We're working on migrating all of those over to the new platform. But the new platform has most of the outward-facing information loaded up, advocacy information about the Federal Benefits Institutes, webinars, again, information about membership, things like that. We're getting ready to finalize the design. We finalized the design. We're getting ready to load up the new membership section probably this weekend. Again, much more user-friendly, much easier to follow, much more visually appealing. It does a lot of things on the back end too that are very important. Content management. This gives us it organizes the content much better. It will help us to organize the content much better. It will help us to make it easier for members and prospective members to find information, to find things that are relevant to them, that they're interested in. It gives us the ability to track those folks better. We have better analytics on the back end. We have better tracking on the back end, so we'll be able to pull those people more easily into our prospect list. We'll be able to track their behavior to see which pages are more relevant to them, which pages are more important, that kind of thing. So that's very, very important. And then probably the most important thing, and again, this feeds back to sort of the content management as well. Search engine optimization. That is setting up our websites so that search engines like Google and Yahoo find us very easily. That's what we need to do. And our old website just did not handle that well. So the new website is going to be, it's much easier to optimize. We'll be able to better attract our target audience. We use things like keywords that we plug in the background, and again, with the content that we use to make it easier for folks to find us, and for prospects to have that, as I alluded to earlier, that NARFE experience, or what we call freemium resources. So they're free. We give them a couple access to a couple of things that are helpful, but then the rest of the information we keep behind the wall. And they hit a point where they get a screen that says, well, if you want to go further, you want this particular product, you're going to need to join, click here to join. And that's hopefully what we do to motivate them to do that. And then again, any information we capture, it links directly into our database. So any information we capture will go into our prospect database. The last thing, and this is brand spanking new as of this week, you guys are getting a little sneak preview. This is really probably one of the most important things from my perspective that we're gonna do, hopefully a little later on in this year. We have budget now approved to develop an online member community. And what that is, that will incorporate with the website, so it's part of our overall web strategy, our digital strategy. But this is really a place where, and I hesitate to call it this, but to think about the kind of environment it is, think about a Facebook or a LinkedIn type platform. So it is a place where members will be able to come, and rather than just coming to the website and getting information and leaving, members will be able to come and talk with other members, connect with other members, and again, connect with NARFE. And that engagement is that key again. And that's why we're going with an online member community. We're actually working with the vendor that's the top vendor in the association community. They're very well respected. They do a great product. So this is going to be a real game changer. Again, with the pandemic still going on, and we're still talking about months before hopefully everybody's help us vaccinated. This is going to be key in helping people connect. So it'll help members connect at a national level. I talk about marketing automation. This will, going back to that goal of increasing our retention, this will help us to communicate better with those first-year members, and with all members. We'll actually be able to do targeted, automated communications through this, make it a whole lot easier and faster and more effective for us to do that communication. We will be able to deliver NARFE content through this platform. We'll be able to promote our programs through this platform. And this is the really cool part. So we'll be able to set up, first of all, topic-specific sections. So be it FEHB or your TSP or, different things that are the main topics that members like to talk about, we'll have topics in those areas. But we may also have sections for, let's say, by agency. Or folks that are working, that are federal employees or federal retirees from the law enforcement side of the federal government, or from engineering, or from FEMA, or from the VA. We'll be able to set up those sections, and this is what makes this platform so great. It's just very flexible, and so we'll be able to evolve that. And I think one of the biggest things that I like about it is, we'll be able to give chapters the opportunity to connect with your chapter members, a place to come where folks can talk. So if you've got folks that maybe can't make it to your meetings, but they want to engage with the chapter, now they'll have a way to do that. They'll also have a place to go if they want to get involved. Maybe they're not sure they can come here. They can go look for the chapter and they can say, hey, I'm not in the chapter right now, but I'd like to get in. I'd like to participate with your chapter section here on the community. How do I do that? So we really are hopeful that this is going to be a big boost for folks to connect at the local level, and then hopefully get them participating and get them engaged with your chapter at the local level, and get them to come to meetings and things like that. But at the very least, you'll be able to talk to them and find out what they want and what they need, and hopefully deliver that. And then as a side bonus, really, well, I shouldn't say side bonus. The good news is the thing will hopefully ultimately pay for itself, because we can sell ads and we can sell sponsorships on it, and it will generate non-dues revenue that will help to cover the expense, and hopefully ultimately it will more than pay for itself. So that's pretty much all I have in the way of information I wanted to pass on. The only other thing I want to leave you with is that we're looking to you, and I've put articles out in the magazine and in Insider, asking folks to share their ideas and thoughts that you have on what can we do to better recruit members? What can other chapters do? You've run a successful campaign at your chapter to recruit members. Tell us about it so we can share that with the other chapters. Publications or organizations you're aware of where we might be able to link with them. I recently talked to one member, and we talked about there are associations for retired IRS employees and retired VA employees and things like that, and those are opportunities for us to go out and connect and possibly partner with some of those organizations. So if you know of those types of things, if you're aware of publications that you're receiving in the mail that might be targeted at federal employees, let us know. We can reach out to them, possibly do ad purchases, things like that. We have had some members tell us at the local level they run ads in the local newspaper that reaches, let's say, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, where there are several thousand engineers that are non-military federal employees. So again, those are some of the ideas that we've heard and we want to pass along, and we want to have that from you guys. So any ideas that you have, please share them with me. And I promise you we'll push them out there. So that is, I hope I didn't take too much time. And I know that was a lot of information. But as I said, I've been here less than a year now. I am still learning a lot. And it's made even more challenging by the fact that I have really haven't even actually met a lot of my colleagues. I've only met them on phone calls and Zoom. So I want to keep working, obviously moving forward and keep our efforts moving forward. So any ideas you have, let me know, and any questions you have, I'm happy to answer. That's why I'm here.
Okay, Dave, thanks for your time.
Of course.
Just if you got a general question, Dave's open. If you got a specific question for your chapter, I can give you Dave's email address. It's simply dbowman, that's BOWMAN, @narfe.org. He will be more than happy to answer specific questions.
Absolutely.
But let's see if we can get some general questions that people may have. So at this point, I'll just say the floor is open. See who.
Right, and this is Pat. If Dick could help me, because I can't see everybody, I'm going to turn it back to seeing more people. But Bill or Dick, whoever has control right now, if you could help me. And I would like to allow, since we were running so late, about no more than 10 minutes for questions, if possible. And again, thank you, Bill, for mentioning that they should be general in nature.
And I'm happy to answer any. If you want to just email me, I'm perfectly happy to answer emails as well. Whatever's best for you guys.
Okay. And Dave, one thing, if you would not object, could you send me that PowerPoint at rvp10@narfe.org? Thank you.
Will do.
This is Dick Gingarelli. I have a question for you. I understand that the NARFE National is no longer sending out notices for members to renew, reminding them to renew, or second notices. This was done under the old system. that's a primary concern of the membership chairs of all of the chapters. Our primary concern is retention. Is this a true situation that you are not sending out letters?
No, I'm not sure how that could have got out there. No, and if you don't mind, I'll give a real quick explanation of what our dues notice process is. I have been asked by certain members of my committee, the Membership Advisory Committee, not to call it the renewal process because that he felt like that had a negative connotation, but that's basically what it is. There are, during the renewal or the dues notice period, there are 3 notices that go out. The first notice is mailed out 90 days prior to the expiration date. The second notice is mailed on the expiration or on the expiration month, I should say. And then the third notice actually, then there's when the expiration, after the expiration date, there is a 90-day grace period where the membership remains active. At the end of that 90-day period, we terminate the membership for non-payment. And then follow up to that, there is one more notice that is received. Now, Dick, I'll let you know, we are, and maybe this is how this got out there, we are looking at, in fact, we are going to revamp that renewal process, but we are not going to eliminate any of those notices. We are simply going to compress that process a little bit more to try to get those members to pay before we have to drop them. Because when we have to drop them and then reinstate them, and that's a whole nother process, and it tacks on to the time involved. So and again, it's much easier to keep a member than it is to bring in new members. So we want to do our very best to keep those people in the door through that renewal process. So yeah, we will continue to do 3 notices. As I said, I think myself, what I'm planning to do is we'll continue that first notice at 90. We'll probably send the second notice at 30 days out. And then we'll probably send the third notice sometime in the middle of that 3-month grace period. And then when they hit the end of that grace period, they get a magazine that has a wrap on it that says this is your last magazine. They get a notice from us saying, is this goodbye? I mean, basically it's that kind of message, do you really want to drop your membership, things like that. But again, and that messaging will be adjusted. But yeah, no, we definitely send 3 notices to all of the renewals.
Another question is concerns the status of members. We have a lot of members who are identified as active employees, mm-hmm. and I'd say the vast majority of them have since retired, but that situation in the membership rolls hasn't changed. Is it possible for that authority to identify what the status of a member is to be allowed to be entered by chapters and federations instead of just by national?
That's a really good question. I can certainly check on that. I think typically, I will tell you anecdotally, when we did the survey of what we had in the database as active employees, we got a lot of responses back from people saying, hey, I'm not an active employee anymore, I'm now retired. And of course, we updated them in the system. To your point, typically that would be something that the member hopefully would request either by contacting us or going into the system and going to their record and making the change themselves. Let me check on that. I don't, to be very honest, the way that we're set up, my focus tends to be on recruitment retention. The member services department handles more of those types of things, where the admin side of managing the member records. So let me check with my colleagues over there and see if that's something that's possible, and I'll circle back with you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. My name is Connie Bales. I'm the Federation President for Virginia. When you talked about some of the initiatives going into the agencies or going and getting involved with various groups, you said we will go here and we will go there and we will do this. Who would those we be to go into the agencies and to go into to make those things happen?
That's my challenge, Connie. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I've spoken with a couple of chapter leaders, it happened to be, who suggested things. In fact, one I just spoke with this week suggested possibly working with the folks that are, and please understand, I'm not fully versed on how the union folks work within the agencies, but possibly working with a union person on a retainer type basis to help do some recruiting for us. I think more likely scenario is that, and as you said, there are a lot of folks in our particular region, which makes sense in Northern Virginia, that are currently active employees. And I think getting those folks, and in fact, I've got the information for the folks that responded to our survey, so I plan to reach back out to them. But just talk to them about, can you help us to spread the word? It's really, we're not looking for necessarily them to go in and do presentations and things like that, but simply maybe leave some magazines and flyers in the lunchroom, and volunteer to be kind of a contact point within the agencies. That's one way to do it. But I think to answer your question, that needs to be a much more organized effort, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. Obviously, under the pandemic, with the current situation, there aren't probably a lot of people are working remotely. I'm not sure how effective those types of campaigns are going to be right now. So we're trying to get access to those people we're trying to find lists. We're trying to find publications they read. We're trying to find other ways to reach them that don't involve direct contact. But ultimately, that's what we're going to try to figure out. That's the nut we got to crack, is how can we get inside? I will tell you again, one of the things that we would like to do, I would love to see, and the Institute's talking about it, is have us be a resource that can actually go in and give retirement preparation seminars in the agencies as a contractor. There are contractors that do that now. Some of the people we work with, the webinars that put on our webinars, are contractors that go in and do that. We can certainly do that. We can be a resource. We can be a contractor and do that. It's just getting access and getting the entree. So there are a lot of different things we're looking at, Connie, and that's where we're trying to sort of figure that out.
Okay, good.
And Dave, if I could add to what Connie was saying, then historically, and I emphasize the word historically, the unions have resented NARFE.
Okay.
So it's something you may get pushback, but the whole thing is they feel like NARFE is trying to steal their members. And in a lot of cases, you'll find that the unions will support their members while the union member is employed. But then that support drops off after the union member retires. And,
right.
It's been difficult in the past to convince union members that NARFE is the resource after retirement or even post-retirement, just to, as they're preparing. But there has been a historical pushback from unions, particularly on the postal side, with due respect to anybody that's on the line that's postal. But they have pushed back more than most. Now NTEU, the National Treasurer Employee Union, has been a little more positive in the past, but pandemics changed things, and it has really tossed things up in the air. But just to give you some background, like I say, historically unions have resented NARFE.
And I appreciate that, Bill. It's interesting you say that. The gentleman I spoke with, I asked him specifically about that, and he said, well, he actually specifically mentioned the postal union, but otherwise he said, the thing is, the unions are there to represent the individuals. NARFE is really, yes, NARFE delivers resources to individuals, but we're really about representing the field, the entire range of employees and retirees. We could, again, if we can get a hold of the right people and talk to the right people, we can talk through that and say, look, what we can offer complements what you do. We're not trying to take members away from you. We're trying to complement what you do. So yeah, again, like I said, that's one possibility. I think a more preferable scenario to me would be not to tie it to a union rep, but just to get some active employees who are NARFE members and NARFE advocates, if you will, and get those folks in there. So thank you. That's a great point.
And this is Pat. I just wanted to make one comment, and then our 10 minutes is just about up. Those of you who know me, and there are some who do and some who don't, know that I'm kind of a broken record with this. But I have always felt that an excellent way for NARFE to become better known is by associating with other associations. And at one point, I know because I was the national president of Federally Employed Women, we worked together on some legislative issues, but also at some point, NARFE did come in and they gave retirement seminars at our annual national training program. Last year, we had to have it virtually. We don't know this year. But again, I think that's a possibility. And certainly Federally Employed Women is not the only organization. But we had to stop inviting NARFE because it got so expensive. Like at a lot of associations, our organization just didn't have the money to pay all the expenses and the speaker fee. So not to end it on a negative note, but since I talked a little bit, we can take one more question if anybody has it, and then I would like to allow a little bit of time, and I know you've been tied up over lunch, for our other items, and particularly for our update on the VFN board meeting. I've invited our VFN president, Connie Bales, to talk about that. So is there another question, or Bill, did you have a closing comment?
I was just going along what you were just saying. You know, we did attempt a few years back to create a NARFE umbrella and bring in federally employed women, FMA, the Federal Managers Association. And for whatever reason, this effort kind of folded like a cheap umbrella. You know, I don't know how else to say it. I don't know what happened to the effort, but
it's Bill. If I could jump in,
sure.
Just so, and I'm glad. Just to get real quick to respond to you, Pat. And I didn't put it on the slide, but that is part of our operations plan this year. One of our goals is to identify more of those federal associations like FEW.
Blacks in government.
Blacks in government is huge.
Yeah, that's another one. And in fact, and I think it looks to me like we've done things with those groups before. So in some cases, we're going to reach back out to them, but also to find one of the groups we've been talking to is the VA Nurses Association of the Veterans Administration. There are a couple of others that we're targeting. And also, actually, one of the groups we want to start to explore are some of the credit unions, like the federal agency credit unions. Credit unions are membership organizations too, and they're classically starved for content that they want to push out to their members. And federal credit unions have tens of thousands of members that are potential NARFE members. So that's another area we want to explore. But the whole concept of partnering with these groups, we are on it. That is absolutely something we want to do. And Bill, to your point, I'm not sure why it petered out, but we're trying to get back in there and start swinging. So
yeah, I mean,
again, if you have ideas about associations that we should be reaching out to, please email me, because we are very actively wanting to do that.
Well, the federal government has all targeted groups. They have to have a gathering every year. So that's at least 5 of those, and they're common knowledge. So, but I think Pat makes an excellent point. I went to an organization and I recruited 32 people at one organization's conference, but I didn't pay. The only thing I paid for was the little table. So she's making a good point when you got to pay for this and pay for that and pay for all this other stuff that, you know, we just can't afford to do.
Right.
And I know that you've mentioned the larger groups, Blacks in Government and things like that, but the smaller groups, they're the ones you really got to identify, because they're the ones that can bring in people. And then, of course, it expands from there when the word starts traveling. You know, for example, Federal Management Association, last I knew, their total membership in the D.C. area was less than 100.
I remember.
Yeah. But I mean,
well, I'm
Start
sorry,
small,
Bill.
go big.
Go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Dave, will
Okay,
you please
one
give me your
question, Joe,
email
is
again?
right, as long as it's brief, please, and general in nature, please go ahead, Joe Irwin.
My the ink in my ballpoint is now thawed out, so give me your email again.
Okay. It's my first initial D, my last name Bowman. So DBOWMAN at NARFE.org.
Right, and I also put it in the last announcement, and we can put it again, in writing, when we send out, the minutes, etc. Well, I thank you all very, very much. And Mr. Bowman, I will say to you, as I do to all of our speakers, we would love to have you stay for the rest of the meeting. But if you have other obligations, please feel free to leave. We thank you for taking time from your schedule and for your patience as we had a few glitches getting started today.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you all. I actually am going to jump. I have another conference call coming up in about a half an hour, and I need to take care of some business first. So I will say goodbye. But again, it's been a pleasure talking with everybody. And do please email me and contact me. I look forward to talking with all of you, and hopefully one day meeting you in person. That would be a lot of fun.
And
All right, thank you all.
Dave, I will tell you this, I do have some other regional meetings coming up, so I will be reaching out to you to check your schedule. I know the next one that immediately comes to mind is that there's going to be the meeting in North Carolina, and they are definitely interested in hearing from you. And
Absolutely.
I'll pull the dates and work with Henry, who was on. I don't know if he's still on or not, but I'll pull that information and get it to you.
Sounds good.
And then we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks
Bill.
everybody.
Thanks.
Take care.